here's what happened at the beginning of Daniel 2. So Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, and he is really freaked out by this dream, and he wants somebody to interpret it. And what we learn is that he asks all of his, pretty much like, he calls them wise men, but they're like magicians, and they believe in like mysticism and things like that, right? That's all them. They're and astrologers is one of the things that it says too. So he asks all these people who believe in anything but God and believe in casting spells and things to just try to answer his questions. And he gets to this place of, if you don't answer my question, I will kill you. Like, he just wants an answer, and I can tell that we talked through this, that you can kind of see Nebuchadnezzar get fed up with the games and want just straight answers instead of this facade of wisdom. And so what happens is they come and they're like, we can't give you an answer, and Nebuchadnezzar's not too pleased by that. And then what we see after that, though, is Daniel, is that God spoke to Daniel and gave Daniel the interpretation of the dream. And so, yeah, it says in 17, it says, then Daniel returned to his house and explained the matter to his friends, and he urged them to plead for mercy from God, the God of heaven, concerning this mystery, so that he and his friends might not be executed with the rest of the men of Babylon. During the night, the mystery was revealed to Daniel. So what happens is Daniel goes to God, and he pleads to God because he knows that they're all going to die if he does not have this answer correct. And so he goes, and God gives him the dream. He goes to sleep. God gives him the dream that interprets the entire thing. And we see Daniel's response. Daniel's instinct, straight after getting that answer, is to go and thank God. And I love watching this because it says, praise be to the name of God forever and ever. Wisdom and power are his. Where Daniel could go and literally just go, yeah, I have the answer because I'm all of this. Like, I have all of this. He could almost walk in a false humility, right? Of, I serve a God who blah, 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 but I know that I have the answer, right? And I love the humility that Daniel walks through in the midst of all of this, of just turning to God immediately when he could so easily just take it all for himself. And so that's where we went. And then we stopped there because it got really long. And so now today we're in Daniel 24 through, 49. And so here's what we are about to go through. Daniel is going to interpret the dream to Nebuchadnezzar. Are you guys ready? It might be kind of boring, but we're going to get through it. Then Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king, okay. Then Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to execute the wise men of Babylon, and said to him, do not execute the wise men of Babylon. Take me to the king, and I will interpret his dream for him. Arioch took Daniel to the king at once and said, I have found a man among the exiles from Judah who can tell the king what his dreams mean. The king asked Daniel, also called Belteshazzar, are you able to tell me what I saw in my dream and interpret it? Daniel, I feel like that's really Nebuchadnezzar being like, we're going to figure out if you're going to die or not. Daniel replied, no wise man, enchanter, magician, or diviner can explain to the king the mystery he has asked about. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. He has shown King Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in days to come. Your dream and the visions that pass through your mind as you lay on your bed are these. As you were laying there, O king, your mind turned to things to come, and the revealer of mysteries showed you what is going to happen. As for me, this mystery was revealed to me, not because I have greater wisdom than other living men, but so that you, O king, may know the interpretation, that you may understand what went through your mind. What Daniel's trying to say is that actually this has nothing to do with me, but this has everything to do with God. And that God's trying to show you something. And I think really what Daniel's trying to say to the king is, hey, God cares about you. Like, he wants you to know these things are to come because he cares and loves you. And Daniel he's doing something that I think all the other people that were giving Nebuchadnezzar wisdom and giving him all of this counsel weren't doing, which was giving humility, but also giving back all praise to God instead of giving it to themselves, which freaking love him for. You looked, O king, there before you stood a large statue, an enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly baked clay. While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were broken to pieces at the same time and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace. But the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. This was the dream, and now we will interpret it to the king. You, O king, are the King of kings. The God of heaven has given you dominion and power and might and glory. In your hands he has placed mankind and the beasts of the fields and the birds of the air. Wherever they live, he has made you, O ruler, you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold. After you, another kingdom will rise, inferior to yours. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. And as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all of the others. Just as you saw that the feet and toes were partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom. Yet it will have some of the strength of iron in it, even as you saw iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture and will not remain united, any more than iron mixes with clay. In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. Sorry, nor will it be to another people. It will crush all those kingdoms and bring them to an end, but it will itself endure forever. This is the meaning of the vision of the rock out of the mountain, but not by human hands, a rock that broke the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold pieces. The great God has shown the king what will take place in the future. The dream is true, and the interpretation is trustworthy. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate before Daniel and paid him honor and ordered that an offering and increase be presented to him. The king said to Daniel, "Surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and a revealer of mysteries, for you were able to reveal this mystery." Then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. He made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon, placed him in charge of all of its wise men. Moreover, at Daniel's request, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego administrators over the province of Babylon, while Daniel himself remained at the royal court. All right. So good. Okay. Yes, I could break down the dream, whatever, but it's already interpreted, so we don't even need to do that. But let's talk about the last half. um, I just love how God's showing the magnitude of who he is. I don't think Nebuchadnezzar's really understanding what's about to go down. Is that God saying, you might think you have a kingdom, but I have a stronger one that I'm going to establish forever. And I love God because he's like, let me show you what I could actually do, right? I think God's, yes, showing Nebuchadnezzar this dream, but in the midst of it, he's also showing Nebuchadnezzar, you don't actually have all authority and all power. I'm the all powerful one. And that's another reason why Nebuchadnezzar falls prostrate on the floor. This is what I'm believing, is because he's realizing, one, how big God is and how powerful God is. Because I think Nebuchadnezzar at that time was going, who can stop me? I have all authority, right? I have the power of this. Yes, he serves gods, but he's sitting on his own throne, right? And watch. All right. I don't really know where it stopped at. Frick. Man, I'm so mad. But okay, I'm gonna just jump from here. I was in a thought about how we hear about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego throughout Daniel, right? And everybody knows the story of them in the fiery furnace. But I love watching the relationship that they all have together in the midst of captivity. And they unite together to keep loving God, to keep honoring God, to keep giving God all glory, right? And they're in positions of authority where they could just walk with no humility and be like, I'm amazing, right? But they do the most humble thing, which is give God all honor, even in the midst of captivity. And I love this too because you see them go through the journey together. Like in the beginning of Daniel 2, where Daniel comes and he's saying, hey, we need an answer from God. You watch them all begin to plead to God. It's not just Daniel, they're all pleading to God together. And that's the type of relationship that I want to have with the Father, with the people that I run with in life. Is that, okay, I need an answer from the Father? No, I need more than just me to begin to cry out to the Father. I want us all to cry out to the Father together. And what happened because Daniel, like, it's wild because they didn't even have to do that. They didn't have to do that. Yes, there's execution is coming, but they didn't have to do it, right? They did it out of true love for Daniel, but also true love for God. And so you watch Daniel interpret this dream, and by proxy, they get a reward because of it. And that's something that you should be looking for in life is friends that are willing to dig deep wells with you, that are willing to get in the dirt with you, right? It's not going to be as like, I don't think it's dire as like, we're going to get executed. But I think we look at this and we go, wow, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego went into the trenches with Daniel. They did it together. And they said, we're going to love God. We're going to walk in humility and honor during terrible circumstances. We're going to choose God. And you watch God reward their faithfulness. I want friends like that. I have friends like that, but like I want people today that are like, man, I need friends. These are the friends you want to look for. You want to look for friends that are willing to get in the dirt with you. You want to look for friends that are willing to get, in chapter 3, we're going to get into the fiery furnace, that are willing to go, okay, you're standing on this, I'm standing on this too. You want friends that stand on the word of God, on the foundation of the Father, and say, I'm not going to be moved. Because those are people you can run with. Because those are people that you can tell about what God's doing in your life, and they're not going to get jealous with envy. They're going to champion you. Those are people that you can tell about the hard moments of your life, and they're not going to tell you about what you're doing wrong. They're going to tell you about who God has made you to be. Those are people that call out gold, and those are friends that you want. I love that about not just Daniel, though. I love that throughout scripture, you see healthy friendship. I love the relationship between David and Jonathan. I think it's one of the most healthy versions of friendship I've ever seen. When Jonathan could have just turned his back, it would probably been easier. Like, but you watch them be friends through trial and circumstances. And those are friends that you want. So, all right, that's all I got for Daniel 2. It's super good. We're into Daniel 3 tomorrow. I think we're going to do the whole thing because it's only 30 verses.